All right, so get this. Fight directors.
Hmm.
We're diving deep into their world today. You know, those folks who make stage combat look so incredible.
Yeah.
You sent over some really interesting stuff from RoleCatcher about this career path,
Yeah.
what it actually involves. And let me tell you,
Yeah.
it's way more than just like choreographing a good fight scene.
It's true, yeah. It's more about like crafting an illusion. I think that's the real magic a good fight director brings.
Okay.
Making you believe what you're seeing is real, even though in the back of your mind you know it's a performance. And it goes beyond just knowing how to fight, right?
Right.
It's about using movement to tell a story.
Oh, that's cool. So they're like thinking about the characters, the emotions, the entire plot,
Yeah.
all through the lens of a fight.
Exactly. They are. And they're doing that across all different kinds of mediums, too. Like RoleCatcher's Guide here, it mentions fight directors working on everything from like big, elaborate dance performances
Wow.
to super gritty film sequences,
Okay.
even circus acts.
Well, really? Circus acts? Like what?
I know, right? It's kind of wild.
Yeah, that is wild. Now I'm trying to picture like designing a fight scene, but with trapeze artists or
Yes,
something.
right.
It really makes you think about the range of skills these folks must have.
Total.
Speaking of skills, the stuff in this guide about a fight director's background
Yeah.
is super fascinating. Apparently, they come from all walks of life. You've got ex-military, martial arts experts, you name it.
It makes sense, though, when you think about it.
Oh, totally.
You're talking about a field that demands a deep understanding of, well, movement, obviously, and physicality. But there's also this ability to adapt those skills for a creative purpose, you know?
Yeah.
A fight in a boxing ring, totally different feel than a sword fight in like a historical drama, different rules, different everything.
Oh, for sure.
A fight director needs to be able to speak all those different, it's like languages of combat.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they're working in these crazy, intense, fast-paced environments. I mean,
Okay.
this guide mentioned long hours,
Yeah,
physically demanding work.
definitely.
Sounds like you'd need some serious stamina to handle all of that.
Absolutely. And not just physical stamina either. Think about the mental focus.
Oh, right.
The precision required to choreograph these intricate scenes, often with multiple performers at once,
Yeah,
all while making sure everybody's safe on set,
that's a lot to juggle.
big time. And then on top of that, you're collaborating with a whole team, too.
Right, of course.
Directors, stunt performers, even the costume and prop department sometimes.
Wow.
It's a highly collaborative role, which actually explains why this section, the what they do part,
Right.
it emphasizes things like communication,
Yeah.
problem-solving skills, that kind of thing.
Okay, so we're talking about someone who's not just a skilled fighter or choreographer, but also like a creative storyteller, a clear communicator, A&D, a team player.
Pretty much.
Wow. This is already sounding way more complex and interesting than I initially thought.
Oh, it is. A lot more than meets the eye, that's for sure.
Wow. Okay.
And speaking of complexity, this guide also talks about how technology is changing the game for fight directors.
Ooh, technology changing things up. That's always interesting. What kind of technology are we talking about here, and how's it like impacting their work?
Well, motion capture is a big one.
Okay.
RoleCatcher mentions that.
Right.
It's becoming a lot more common in fight choreography these days, especially for like those action-heavy films
Right.
and video games.
Motion capture, like what they use for all those like CGI heavy movies.
Exactly, yeah.
I actually remember reading about that in I think it was a different RoleCatcher guide about VFX artists, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I'm super curious to hear your take on this. Would you say motion capture is like limiting a fight director's creativity, or is it more like giving them a new tool, adding to their toolbox?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
It's probably a bit of both, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, on the one hand, having that level of digital precision, that could be amazing for creating certain effects. Stuff that would be, like, really tough to do practically, or even dangerous.
Right.
I can imagine it opening up a whole world of possibilities in terms of, like, these crazy, fantastical fight sequences or stunts.
Right. Like those wire fu fight scenes from those awesome martial arts movies.
Yeah.
But like taken to a whole other level.
Exactly. But then again, there's something to be said for the rawness
Yeah.
and the authenticity of, like, practical fight choreography,
Yeah.
the way that a fight director can use the actors' physicality, their timing, even like their reactions to blows to tell a story through movement. That's a special kind of art form.
Totally. I totally see what you mean. It's like the difference between seeing a live concert and then listening to the perfectly polished studio recording.
Yes.
They both have their own unique energy.
Precisely. And I bet for a fight director who's really passionate about the physical craft, motion capture might feel like a barrier. Oh, yeah.
Between them and the action.
That makes sense.
But who knows? Maybe the future of fight choreography is a blend of both.
Yeah.
Using technology to enhance certain aspects, but still preserving that, like, raw heart of the performance.
Totally, yeah. It's like those artists who use like digital tools to create their illustrations, but you can still see their individual brushstrokes,
A perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Speaking of the artistic journey, though, let's talk about the career path itself a bit.
Okay, yeah.
RoleCatcher does a nice job of outlining a typical progression, from starting as an assistant fight director
Right.
all the way to becoming this, like, sought-after consultant.
Yeah, that really stood out to me, too. It's interesting how much emphasis they put on mentorship. In those early stages, especially.
For sure. Makes sense when you think about how much practical experience and, honestly, just specialized knowledge is involved. You're not just learning a set of moves.
Right.
You're learning how to adapt those moves for different performers, different settings, different stories.
Yeah, is a real apprenticeship aspect to it. And even at those top levels, like becoming a consultant.
Yeah.
That often involves training other fight directors or overseeing huge teams on big-budget productions. Seems like a very collaborative field, even as you climb the ranks.
That's pretty cool. It speaks to the idea that even when you're, like, the expert,
Right.
you're still learning. You're still growing alongside your peers.
Totally. And let's be real, when your job involves, meticulously planning out a sword fight or a brawl or whatever, having a good team around you is probably essential.
I would imagine.
But speaking of essential skills, there were a few listed in this guide that I found pretty interesting, particularly like the ones that weren't just about the physical stuff.
Oh, you mean like the stuff about active listening being important?
Yeah.
And social perceptiveness being high up there? Those really jumped out at me too, I gotta say. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get why those skills are important in any job. But especially in a high-stakes, super physical field like this, it's kind of unexpected.
Right.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. How do those skills actually translate to the world of a fight director?
Yeah, it's funny you should mention those skills, because, I don't know, when I think fight director, I picture, like, someone who's super physical.
Right.
A martial arts master or something.
Yeah.
But then I see active listening right there at the top of the skills list. And I'm like, wait, it's kind of counterintuitive.
It might seem that way
Cool.
at first, but when you really think about it, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a fight director on a film set, okay? You're not just listening to the director, to their vision for the scene.
Right.
You're also listening to the actors.
Right, of course.
To their concerns, their limitations.
Makes sense.
Maybe one of them has a dance background.
Yeah, but they're totally new to stage combat.
Oh, sure.
A good fight director, they take all that in. Adapt the choreography. Find a way to make it work.
Wow.
Safely and dramatically.
It's like they're conducting an orchestra.
Yes.
But instead of instruments, it's...
punches and kicks. Yes, exactly.
Exactly. And then you've got social perceptiveness on top of that.
You're right.
Being able to, like, read the room, sense the energy,
Right.
navigate all those, sometimes delicate interpersonal dynamics.
Totally. Because it's a film set.
Right.
You've got big personalities probably,
Yeah.
tight deadlines for sure,
Always.
and just the pressure of performing.
Absolutely.
A fight director who can pick up on those little cues, those subtle things, they can help make the whole environment more collaborative.
Yes.
More respectful.
Which is essential when you're dealing with...
especially when you're like planning out a whole fight scene, right?
It's controlled chaos, in a way.
Totally. Oh my gosh. It's almost like being a therapist, in a way.
You're dealing with people's physical limits and their emotional states.
Yeah.
And all while trying to make this action sequence look believable and amazing.
Totally. It really is this fascinating blend of artistry and athleticism.
Right.
And psychology, honestly.
And psychology. That's so true. I didn't even think about it like that. Actually, the guide mentioned some other skills too, like coordination,
Yes.
judgment and decision-making, time management, all those things. They really highlight the mental demands of this job.
Yeah.
which I think a lot of people don't realize.
For sure.
It's so much more than just knowing how to, like, throw a punch.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I thought before we dove into this. You've really opened my eyes to the complexity and the nuance of what a fight director actually does.
Well, I think it's a truly unique craft.
It is.
And honestly, what I find most inspiring about it is how it brings together that creativity with technical skill. Like you're taking something inherently dangerous and you're making it art. You're making it storytelling.
So well said. It makes you appreciate those like epic fight scenes even more.
Right.
Knowing how much thought and care goes into making them not just spectacular, but safe.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, the best fight scenes, they're the ones that stay with you.
Totally.
Long after the credits roll.
Yes. 100%. And for anyone listening who's now thinking, hey, maybe I want to be a fight director, RoleCatcher has a ton of great resources up on their site. Interview tips, advice on like building a portfolio.
It's a great resource.
Yeah, they've got you covered.
They really do. And if I could add just one more piece of advice for aspiring fight directors out there.
Yes.
Don't just focus on like mastering every fighting style or learning the flashiest moves.
Yeah.
Master the art of storytelling.
Ooh. That's the key. That's great advice.
Because when you can tell a compelling story through movement, when you can make the audience really feel it, the weight of each blow the stakes, that's how you make something unforgettable.
You heard it here first, folks. Master the art of storytelling through movement.
Yes.
That's the secret sauce to being an amazing fight director. And for more deep dives into these fascinating careers, be sure to check out the rest of our episodes. And hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
Until next time.